Guten Tag. Welcome to my interview with Uli John Roth, recorded on March 20th and March 21st, 1985. This conversation captures the German guitar hero at a transitional moment in his career. He'd already recorded several classic hard rock albums with the Scorpions, such as Fly to the Rainbow, In Trance, Virgin Killer, and Tokyo Tapes. Leaving the Scorpions in 1979, Uli re-emerged with his own band, Electric Sun. The lineup's first two albums were issued in Germany and sold as imports in the UK and the US. At the time of our interview, Uli had just finished recording Beyond the Astral Skies. With its orchestrations, choir of voices, and cosmic themes, this album was quite different from other 1980s records by major hard rock guitarists. I found Uli to be very forthcoming as he delivered a masterclass for guitarists. The conversation took place over 2 days, and both parts are presented in this podcast. I hope you enjoy it.
Are you familiar with Guitar Player?
Of course I am. Who isn't?
Oh, great. Okay. Could you give me some background on yourself, like how old you are, when you were born, and when you started playing and stuff?
Yeah. I was born in December 1955.
Uh-huh.
54. Sorry. I'm getting crazy here. 1954. And so I'm 30. And I was born in Germany, in Düsseldorf. I started playing when I was 13, I guess. I started in 1968. And since then, I've also been gigging, actually.
Ever since?
I was playing on stage right away.
Really?
Yeah.
What was your first band?
It was a band called Blue Infinity. Would you believe it?
Which way?
Blue Infinity.
What kind of band was that?
We were playing like, it was an amateur band playing blues and cream numbers, you know.
Was this in Germany?
That was in Hanover, actually.
Hanover?
Yeah.
Now, when you first started playing guitar, what did you learn first? What was most important?
I was learning leads and rhythm playing. I was learning it all at the same time, you know. I guess quite in a normal way. I was listening to records, picking up solos from other people, and watching other people play.
What records, what were the most influential people that you listened to?
Difficult to say these times. I just remember playing different songs, you know, like we would play Shadows songs, and we would play some numbers by Cream, and later on Jimi Hendrix, of course. But Jimi Hendrix at the beginning, we didn't play. That was about 1 year later, so I got into that.
I hear more of Hendrix in your music now than probably any other player.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, there is a lot of Hendrix in my music, but why do you say then more than any other player?
I mean, I hear...
Because there's many people who actually copy Jimi Hendrix and they play it note for note.
What I meant...
And I don't do that.
No, well, I didn't mean that. I mean...
You mean the spirit?
I hear more...
the spirit of the music or what?
Yeah, I hear more... When I listen to your playing, I hear more things that are close to Hendrix than close to anybody else.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Guitar-wise. Oh, yeah, now I understand. Yes. I mean, guitar-wise, he was about the only influence that I guess you could track down in the guitar field. All my other influences were more from the classical field.
Who were those?
Well, basically from very early on, I used to listen to classical composers, and you know, and this is how I learned more about guitar playing than by listening to other guitar players. So basically, the only guitar player I really was influenced by was Jimi Hendrix, I guess.
What was...
But I mean, of course, there were lots of people who did influence me, you know.
Yeah.
I think he made the lasting impression on me.
What was the appeal of Jimmy?
I just thought he was the best guitar player, and he was doing, he was elevating the guitar above, way above that a level what that other people were reaching, you know. I think he was just doing more, he was not playing, he was not like a guitar player.
Yeah.
He was more playing music, and he just spurred on my imagination, you know.
Yeah.
I saw more in what he was doing than when I was listening to other people. But there were some people who did influence me a lot in the early days. I don't know whether you can hear it these days, actually, because I've become too detached. But I mean, I was very much into Eric Clapton's playing, especially with the Cream, and so I thought he was a fantastic. He was, of all the white players, definitely my favorite player. And I mean, there were quite a few people, you know, who influenced me. Django Reinhardt, I think he's outstanding. I did like Jan Ackermann, although I haven't heard of him since about 10 years or so, I guess.
Well, when you first started playing, how much time did you spend, how many hours a day did you spend playing?
When I first started, I guess something like between 1 and 3 hours or so.
Now,
I remember, you know.
From your Hanover days with Blue Infinity, what happened between then and the beginning of the Scorpions?
Well, I was involved in a few like bands in Hanover. The last of which was called Dawn Road.
Dawn Road?
Dawn Road, like dawn, like the morning.
Yeah.
And then road, and that was a 4-piece, and we were playing with a keyboard. It was keyboards, guitar, drums, and bass. And the keyboard player and I were singing. And we were perhaps doing a kind of music that's closer to what I'm doing now than Scorpions are.
How would you describe the music you're playing now?
If I would have to give a title to it, maybe symphonic rock.
That's funny. I just wrote a record review, and I called it Rock Theater Meets Opera.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally not really into opera, but I did discover the vocals recently, you know?
Yeah.
And so I really used a lot of harmony vocals on this record. And so in places it sounds quite operatic, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm not really into opera, you know, so that's it's one of these things, you know?
Now, when did you get with the Scorpions? How did that come about?
Well, they were based in Hanover, like I was. And Michael Schenker, he had seen me play a few gigs, and with the band I was in then. And when he left Scorpions, he rang me up, and he asked me whether I wanted to join, you know, take his place. And but I was attached to this band, Dawn Road, so I didn't want to leave them, you know. And finally, it all ended up that we merged bands. Like the 4 members of Dawn Road merged with the one remaining member of Scorpions, that was Rudolph. And after a little while, then Klaus came back too, because Klaus had left too. Klaus Meine, you know. So we were 6 members in the beginning, and then shortly before the first record of the new Scorpions, the keyboard player left, and we were 5-piece then. And that was the new Scorpions, Fly to the Rainbow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there were, on Fly to the Rainbow, there were 3 members of Dawn Road and 2 members of the old Scorpions. And already then, Scorpions were more established, and Dawn Road was more of an amateur band. So we went under the name of Scorpions. And they also had this record out,
Lonesome Crow
already, you know. So there was much more of a foundation there.
Now, how many years did you spend with the Scorps?
5, exactly 5. We started in summer '73, and we finished in summer '78.
Great. Now, if as you look back over the stuff you did with the Scorpions, if somebody asked you what were the essential cuts you recorded with them, what would you say? What do you consider the cream of your work?
The cream. I think there were some decent things on in Trance, but my favorite album was Virgin Killer, and I thought Tokyo Tapes wasn't too bad, although I was dissatisfied with the production and the sound and many things. And yeah, I guess that's it, you know. I think the best stuff was definitely on Virgin Killer, and that's how I always felt. And that was also the time after Virgin Killer, I began to want to go into another direction musically, and this is where actually where we started drifting apart. Before that, I was very much into what we were doing, and I was giving everything, and but I felt more and more dissatisfied with the musical direction the band was going in, and I really wanted to do this Electric Sun project, you know.
Was that something that you came up with?
Well, I mean, it was like a predestined thing, you know. When I joined Scorpions at first, I always had in mind to do my own project later on. Uh-huh. And I told it to everybody in the band. Everybody knew the whole story, you know. I basically said that I would stay for about 5 years, and this is exactly what I did, you know. Mm-hmm. And so it had lived itself out after a certain amount of time, and I think I should have split in 1977, actually. And this is also what I wanted to do, you know, but things took a little bit longer until they got a new guitar player, and that's the whole story, so I stayed on for a little while afterwards, you know.
How did your playing change while you were with the Scorpions?
Well, I think I just developed a style of my own, and obviously through the touring and the frequent playing, you know, on stage, it changed in many ways, you know. I think it got more, I gained more and more control over the years, you know, musical control, about my own abilities, you know. And from about 1977 on, I started getting interested in songwriting, actually, because before I didn't put too much effort into the songwriting, you know.
Do you know what you're doing in musical terms?
What I'm doing?
In other words, have you studied music? Do you know technically?
Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I can totally analyze everything I'm doing, you know. But when I compose, I switch off this kind of knowledge, and I compose on a different kind of level. But I always double check, and I use my theoretical knowledge in order to create something that's as good as it could possibly be for my personal kind of abilities. You know, it's the same as if you're talking. You know all the grammar.
Yeah.
You know? You have to know grammar and all these things. You have to know how to write. But at the same time, while you're talking, you don't think about grammar, do you?
No.
And it's the same with me and music, you know. So
when did you study music?
I started very early from when I was 15 onwards. I was starting to write music. So nowadays I can write it and read and write fluently, and I don't have any problems there, you know. And also, of course, the piano helps, you know.
Now, with the Scorpions, you play piano?
No, with the Scorpions, I didn't play piano.
You do now, though?
Yes. I played all the keyboards on Beyond the Astral Skies.
Uh-huh.
And, well, what can I say? I learned it basically in the period when I didn't, when I wasn't able to perform, from 1981 onwards.
Well, that was
I had a few years where I could actually sit down and study, and this is what I did.
You learned piano?
Yeah. I didn't have any teacher,
Was guitar your first instrument?
Guitar was my, I used to play trumpet beforehand, but after a short while I switched to guitar and bass.
Yeah. Well, with the Scorpions, you introduced some, you broke some ground with new scales you were playing, like.
Yeah, what are new scales? I mean, all the stuff you're hearing nowadays has basically been used before 100 years before or so,
I meant
for rock music, yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to come up with new things, not for the sake of it, but basically because I felt the urge to do something different. And it just came out of me somehow,
Now, did you know you were playing a lot of harmonic minor scales and stuff like that?
Well, I knew all these things, of course. I knew the things while I was doing them, and it wasn't particularly difficult for me,
Yeah.
I was never so much interested in the mere mechanical side of things, but I think I achieved a certain mastery at a pretty early stage, but it got more and more fluent afterwards,
Did you consider yourself a heavy metal player?
Oh, never.
You never have?
No.
Although
I never did. I sounded like one, but I never considered myself a heavy metal player.
But you're generally considered to be one of the first European heavy metal players.
Yeah, maybe.
Does that title bother you?
I mean, people put all sorts of labels on you, and of course people see different things in my playing than maybe I see, you know?
What's your philosophy of soloing? What do you think an Ulrich Roth solo should do?
For me, a solo must be part of a song.
Uh-huh.
Yeah? And I always try and play a solo that enhances the song and fits into the entire structure of the song. And a solo for me must be something meaningful, melodic, and I basically hate every note that doesn't have a meaning,
Uh-huh.
For me, every note should have a meaning, a musical meaning, and a certain logic. And wherever I can't find that, then I can't relate to the kind of solo. Because a solo for me should never be a means to an end. It should always be music in the first place, And the technical point is just, the technical side of it is just something you have to master. But it's, in musical terms, it's very, very unimportant,
Have you ever constructed a solo before you had a song to use it in?
No.
No?
No.
How do you
I never do that. I always, if I compose a solo, I compose it for the song, But I never songwrite or compose from the guitar, So that I say, oh, that sounds nice on the guitar. I do it. Never ever. I always come from my head first. I always have the melody inside of my head first, and then I think it out. Many of my best solos were just improvised on the spot, and later I repeated them because they just fit,
You mean while you were recording them, they were spontaneous?
Oh yeah, yeah. Many of my best ones, Whereas others I would compose because I don't believe in permanent improvisation,
What do you mean?
It tends to get too indulgent, so I keep it half and half.
Are there ever times when you've surprised yourself when you've listened to a playback? Like you wondered how you played that or where it came from?
No, I don't. I never wonder how I played it because I always know what I'm doing. and I've always got control. But so I always, when I hear something, I always know what I did. I can see each note immediately when I hear it. But of course, sometimes you have, if everything's right, and sometimes the inspiration is higher than on other days.
Yeah.
I very much depend on inspiration.
Do you when you're on stage, will you try something you've never done before?
Yeah. I very often go to the extremes. I always like a little bit of danger. Sometimes I go really over the top in certain things, and if I feel the urge to do that, But whatever comes out of your speaker should always have a certain level of quality,
Yeah.
And well, that's what I aim for most of the time, or all of the time,
What makes you play?
You don't always achieve it, because sometimes you try something you've never done before, and and it doesn't really work,
What makes you play your best?
What makes me play my best? Well, if I'm in a hall with a good sound, and everything goes right with the band, and the audience is attentive, and if I'm well inspired,
Yeah. Does your emotion?
It's very, very important, the inspiration. If I'm not really inspired, I tend to go back on autopilot.
Yeah.
Which happens very, very rarely, luckily. But sometimes it does happen.
What do you think about while you're playing on stage?
Just music.
Yeah?
Yeah, music and pictures, images. For instance, to give you an example.
Yeah.
Although I know all the scales or so, I know musically what they are, while I'm actually playing, I never think about scales. I just hear the notes coming from within, and I play them.
Can
right?
you?
And if I play something like a fixed line, each night I try and imbue it with a spirit of spontaneity, as if it was done the first time, And whenever you manage to do that, that's when you're playing your best.
Yeah.
And of course, then there's lots of areas where you actually do lots of new things. So each show is quite different from the other. Each night there's lots of different things, and I'm always trying new things, improving things,
How important is speed in solos?
Well, it's just a mechanical means to an end, If you have a song that needs a certain amount of speed, then you have to play fast, But I tend to go for trying to say something of meaning with little notes, But very often you need to have a lot of notes in order to convey a certain meaning. And it really depends on the song and so. If there's something that I cannot stand, is if I hear people play mindless, senseless, pointless, just fiddling about, doodling about, playing scales here and there, up and down, just trying to be flashy and impress people with emptiness. People who are all fingers and no song. So that's what I don't like. So I really don't like empty virtuoso kind of stuff, I like a tasteful kind of appliance of speed and technique, but it must be always under the banner of music, It must be always subjugated under the to the song, Everything must have a meaning, and that's very important for me, and I've always felt that way. That's basically how I develop my entire musical outlook, I always go for a meaning and what I do. It's the same as if you hear somebody talking and he's just blabbering away words one after the other, just like taken from a lexicon without any point to it,
How often do you practice, and what do you work on?
I practice very, very little, because I've got very little time to practice. Most of the time I spend rather thinking about music. But when I'm on tour, I tend to practice more because then sometimes there's nothing else to do, And but I prefer thinking about music and actually composing to practicing.
Do you compose mentally?
Yeah, well, that's what you have to do, don't you?
I mean, you can be by yourself and think up a whole song in your mind.
Yeah, I mean that's how it starts.
Can you always?
I mean, there's many ways of approaching composing, and I use many ways at the same time. Like I would wake up and I would get an idea for a song, and work it out to a certain degree, and then attack it on the instrument and get another feedback. I mean, a musical feedback from the actual instrument. Sometimes it's like a two-way thing,
Yeah.
Suddenly, your subconscious comes up with ideas. You're just playing, which you wouldn't have necessarily in your head, But I always let my inner ear, my imagination, command my fingers. Never my fingers command my imagination.
Can you play everything you can imagine?
Well, as good as. Oh yeah, I mean basically. Well, no, not everything I can imagine because there's many things that are impossible on the guitar, But again, it's a two-way thing. If I imagine guitar music, I imagine it within the limits of the guitar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I imagine real, like free music, then it always sounds better in the imagination than what you actually get on the finished product.
Do you produce your own records?
Yes.
Did you produce Beyond the Astral Skies?
Yes.
Yeah, I just have a promo cassette with nothing on it, so I didn't.
Oh no, really?
I don't know who played on it or anything like that.
Well, you should have the album because the album sounds so much better. Cassettes, I mean, the sound is just crap on it, basically. I've just had the direct comparison.
Yeah.
You really should have an album.
Well, all I had was an advanced cassette so far, but it was good enough to
Well, maybe I should give Jane Friedman a ring to send you an album right away.
Now, let me ask you this. You have kind of a unique tone with a very penetrating mid-range. Do you record with your wah-wah partially depressed or something?
Well, half and half. Some songs, yes. Most songs, no. You have to ask me about a particular song, then I can tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard it on the album a few times, but
well, I mean, there's a bit of a wah-wah there, but on the major solos, hang on, in fact, I would have to hear it, I know that on the long solo, like I'll Be There, that's a very long solo.
The single lines and multi-track parts?
With what?
The single lines or the multi-track section?
Yeah, that's the one with the balalaika in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Well, I wasn't using anything there,
Ah.
It was just straight.
You multi-track, or you've done this throughout your career?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For me, it's very important because a record, for me, has little to do with a live gig. It's two different worlds. I try and attack each medium at what I think is its strong point, And for me, the medium record is is actually my favorite because I can create like an ideal or what I think, an ideal kind of picture. And well, I put enormous amounts of effort into getting different sounds in different shades, and I really get off on it,
Do you record with a lot of equipment?
No, not a lot of equipment, but basically I record most of the stuff on my own. I mean, except for the drummer, but all the other instruments I most of the time was alone in the studio, and apart from having vocalists in.
Did you do the singing on the album?
I did a lot of the lead singing, but we had a lot of strong singers in for both harmonies and other leads.
Now, what's important to keep in mind when you're multi-tracking parts?
It's different with each person, you know. I think I've got quite a unique approach, actually, which suits me.
Could you describe it?
Other people would do something totally different, you know.
Could you describe your approach?
Well, for me, many things are important. Let me think. I try and create a balanced picture of a whole, a musical picture where I put each instrument in its place. Yes?
Yes.
And I very much mixed with media like compact disc in mind, where you have strong contrast and strong sound contrast and strong level contrast. Yeah, I try and balance. I try and put quiet next to very loud, or vice versa, you know, or musically speaking, slow against very fast, or disharmonic against very melodic. I like these contrasts, and what I try and achieve is utmost clarity, but it's very difficult. I mean, we're doing 48 track, and each instrument sounds great on its own. As soon as you have a second instrument, it loses because certain harmonies interfere. What you have to do is very much like in a painting. You have to balance all the harmonics, and you have to try and create like a carpet of sound, where each instrument has its own specific place and meaning and purpose. So there's many instruments on there which you're never able to really discern, but they would serve like you would have a bleaching on a canvas, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, like a color underneath which puts the other instrument on top into a different light.
How many tracks will you characteristically record of guitar?
I cannot say because each song is totally different.
What's the most you recall doing?
I don't know. I have to really think back. Each song is totally different, you know.
In the song,
I mean, I have we have lots of vocal tracks, lots of drum percussion tracks, and all these things, and lots of little extra tracks plus keyboards. The guitar usually doesn't take that much space. What I do is, though, I record all of the major guitars with 2 mics each.
On the amps?
2 tracks.
What kind of amps do you like?
I use Marshall heads,
50s?
100 watt old Marshall heads, and recently I've discovered Fender amps.
What kind?
They keep breaking up on me.
The Fenders do?
Yeah, they don't last very long. The speakers.
What kind of Marshall cabinets do you use?
The 320 bass cabs.
Now, you mic the amplifiers with 2 mics?
Yeah, 2, sometimes 3.
Is it one close and one further back, or?
Yeah, something like that. It always depends on the room. On this record, unfortunately, I didn't have the room I wanted.
Yeah.
Since we started out as a low budget, and only after the record company saw how good it was going to be, we were able to mix in very expensive places, you know. But we had to record in a place that I actually hated, and so I recorded my guitar in a little larder, which was difficult. It took me several days to get what I wanted there. Whereas in a place like Olympic Studios or in a big hall, I would have had the sound right away.
Where did you record this one?
We recorded it in small studios in London.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and London, and some vocals were done in Hanover. But as I say, the mixing was all done in good SSL studios, 6 altogether, I believe.
What kind? Did you have much? What kind of an effects setup did you use for the album?
Effects?
Yeah, like
you mean for
guitars?
Very little. I use my Roland Echo. I always go through that, use it a little bit as a preamp, and I also use the flanging facility on that. By using the chorus and getting some flanging effect out of it. Actually, Roddy built it like that. Don't quite know what he did there. That I would use on certain occasions. Then when I use a wah-wah, I use the Crybaby, and then that's about it. The rest was done like on the mix with AMS or whatnot.
With what? I'm sorry?
With AMS.
Oh, I see. Now on Return, that's
Return.
Chant of Angels.
Yeah.
What was the chorus effect on guitar?
That's the 301.
The Roland.
Yeah.
And okay, now in Ile-san, after the Latin verses, there's kind of an assault of guitars, right?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Hell.
I know.
That's supposed to be in hell, yeah?
How did
the
you
song about fights between good and evil.
Yeah.
And so I was trying all sorts of hellish things there. Basically, it was all done with the RE1. I did certain...
What's an RE1? I'm sorry?
With the, 301.
Oh, I'm sorry.
RE301, I think it's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Roland. For instance, these harpies you hear there, like...
Yeah.
These bird-like effects. Do you remember?
Yes.
There's a few swirling noises. This was done by totally overdriving the RE1, 301.
Yeah.
And just using that. And then I was using flanging on the guitar, and I was using a normal overdrive.
Is that an outboard device?
Yeah. I was just overdriving the entire thing. And I played it on the Strat. And yeah, that's all I remember there.
How many?
See, most of the effects you get by actually using normal effects in a very unusual manner. This is what I've always been doing. I tend to use effects at their strong points. That means I use them with imagination.
Could you give an example?
If you use the effect and just plug in your guitar and you play your normal style, you will not get much effect. But if you actually get inspired by the effect, or you have an imagination, you know what to go for, and you think in certain images, then it's much easier to get a lot of effect out of these pedals and devices.
So the effects will dictate how you play, to an extent.
They don't.
They'll
it's
influence?
like a teamwork.
Oh, I see.
If I get an idea, like for instance these harpies or so, I thought I was imagining what sounds I could use there, and then you suddenly think, hang on, why not use this and this? You play around a bit, and it's very much a combination of using your imagination and also your mind, and in order to get the best out of these things.
Can you give an example for somebody who has one of those effects of how you would do it to get the most out of it and be different?
Well, you have to be sensitive to start with.
Yeah.
You have to listen, to actually listen to what comes out of the thing. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then you have to be like a team partner with this effect. If you get a new guitar or a new amplifier or whatever, you have to hear what it gives you, right?
Right.
And then you have to somehow form a team with this thing. You have to listen to what it gives you, and then you have to somehow adapt in order to coax the best out of this thing. You can't totally force your own personality onto everything you get, because then you will not always get the best out of the thing.
That's very interesting.
You have to slightly adapt, only a little bit sometimes. Sometimes it's just a little extra vibrato, a little different attack or whatnot. You know, that makes all the difference. It's subtle differences. Very subtle differences sometimes make a hell of a difference in the end. You know, I mean, this is what young players have to understand. They can't expect to go out and buy the same guitar as Jimi Hendrix or the same amplifier and expect to sound like him. Because people with a good ear for sound, they get the sound by actually producing it with their fingers and imagination, you know. And it's not so much the equipment you play, it's very much what you do with it.
Yeah.
It's your own individual kind of stamp and trademark.
Sometimes
you can't expect these things to do it for you.
Sometimes it seems like people have too much emphasis on the equipment.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
This is usually the case with players who don't really have such a good ear for sound. I found very often the ones who I respect, they get a lot out of very little. You know?
Yeah.
The best test is always if you give an unplugged guitar to somebody and just try.
Now,
and then you see whether a guy can really play or not. No.
What are your favorite?
You can easily tell if somebody sits in front of you with a guitar that's not plugged in. You can easily tell what kind of sound he'll get on an amp. You know? Because you hear what's coming out of, what he's getting out of any guitar. You know, you can hear whether he has an ear for sound or not.
What are your favorite?
I can hear.
What are your favorite guitarists?
My favorite guitarist is still Jimi Hendrix, I have to say. You know?
What?
Jimi Hendrix.
No, not guitarist.
Guitar.
Instrument itself.
See, yeah. Well, at the moment it's my Sky guitar.
Is that the one in the publicity photo with the extra?
Yes, I play it a lot these days, and I'm always expecting new. I'm always discovering new things on it. And
who made that?
It's fantastic.
Who made it?
It was made by my guitar builder, a guy called Andy Demetriou.
Could you spell that? What's his last name?
Demetriou. Demetrou.
He lives in Brighton, England?
He lives in Brighton, yes.
What's distinctive about that guitar?
It's very simple. Take the difference between a violin and a viola. And that's the difference that you get between a normal guitar and the Sky guitar. I can go as high as any violinist can on this.
How many frets does it have?
One of them has 30 frets, but the other has the ability to go up to 40 because I have a violin neck at the top. It goes all the way up.
Fretless?
Fretless.
It goes up to the pickup?
It goes up to the final pickup.
No kidding.
No kidding.
What do you use it for?
I use it for my most recent solos.
Wow.
Yeah. So I can play 5.5 octaves on
How many?
the guitar.
5.5?
Almost 6 octaves.
Amazing. Did you think that up?
I what?
Did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, of course.
And have
I mean, just think this. Who is it? Oh, I can't. I'm doing the interview. Sorry. What happened was this. I used to play this Trance for years and years, and the logic of my guitar solos frequently demanded to go slightly higher, you know, because I like the violin range for melody. I prefer to the middle type of range, which I prefer on a cello or so. And so I always was fighting for new notes, and I think probably I was one of the first who was going for these top E's in such manner in 1975. And I was really fighting for them because it was quite kind of hard on the Strat at first. And but after a while I wanted to go higher. So I had 2 extra frets on the Strat, so I could go to the F sharp. And finally, I thought I need a guitar that gives me more. So I sat down and I drew this guitar, and in 2 hours it was ready, you know. And I discussed it with my guitar builder, who said, "Great, I'll do it." And he built it for me exactly after this design, you know, and it turned out quite a masterpiece.
What?
And it sounds, I can get all the clean Strat sounds out of it because it's got the same kind of single chord facilities, but I can get all the power chords that I want and all the sustain.
Do you know what kind of pickups are in there?
At the moment, I'm using Fender pickups and Dan Armstrong pickups. I'm going to experiment with Seymour Duncan, though.
Does it have humbucker pickup?
The last pickup I can switch as a humbucker or single chord.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which I do sometimes.
Does it have a whammy bar on it, Uli?
It has a whammy bar. It's got a normal Fender one, but it doesn't go out of tune. It hasn't got a locking device. It goes out of tune in one of 12 nights, let's say. You know, sometimes I'm a bit unlucky, and then it lets me down, but usually it doesn't.
It's a standard Fender?
It's a standard Fender, but for some reason it works 10 times better because Andy's got some kind of magic touch, you know. He just builds it so nicely.
Do you have a gentle touch with the vibrato?
What?
Are you gentle with it?
Well, I use it in all sorts of ways, you know.
Yeah?
This guitar allows me to control it much better than I was able to do it ever before, you know. So on the Strats, they always used to go so much out of tune that finally didn't use them anymore. Then I got a locking device. I wasn't quite happy with it, though. But I'm still going with it on the Fender.
Okay. Now, when you get, what kind of fingerboard does it have? Ebony or
I've got
rosewood?
I've got two Sky guitars. One has a maple and one's got a black ebony board.
Is it SKY or SKYE?
SKY.
Oh,
Sky
man.
guitar, Sky 1 and Sky 2 we've got so far. And he's just building Sky 3. It takes him 2 months to do one guitar.
Do you have any plans of marketing that?
Well, maybe.
Yeah? Aside from being able to hit the high notes...
I'm sure it'll be a hit, this guitar, though.
I have a feeling it will. Aside from being able to get the high notes, are there other things it can do that a standard guitar cannot?
At the moment, not yet. What we're working on at the moment is an extended neck at the bottom, which the guitar will then have 2 extra frets at the bottom, and it'll be tuned to D major.
So it'll have an extra, the scale length will be a couple of inches longer.
Yeah. We're just doing a prototype at the moment of that, you know.
Do you?
Because I'm also dissatisfied with the bottom range of the guitar.
Huh.
And that's been bugging me for a long time.
Now, when you hit the stage for a show, okay, where does the signal from your guitar go before it goes to the amps? What sort of devices does it want?
Yeah, it goes through a pedal board that contains mainly on-off switches for my echoes.
What kind are those? I'm sorry?
It goes through a pedal board that contains on-off switches for chorus and echo.
What kind are Roland?
Yeah, for the Roland.
Uh-huh.
And then it goes, and on this pedal board I've got a wah-wah and a fuzz box.
Can you remember what brands they are?
The wah-wah is Crybaby, and the fuzz box is I think it's a mixture between Shala and Fuzz Face. But I mean, I've been having that for so long that I don't quite remember. You know, lots of people have been working on this board, so
yeah.
I'm not on the latest stand because I'm not really so interested in these things. You know.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm quite disinterested. And then I go to the RE301 for the echo, and from there it goes into the stack. But the pedal board is bypass. No.
If you want a straight guitar sound?
Yeah, it's bypass.
Now, how do you...
I'm losing very little before the amp.
How much, where do you have the settings on your amp?
I used to have it on 6 for a long time. At the moment, I play it on 8 for extra sustain.
For what, volume you mean? Master volume?
Volume, and all the others are around the 5 or 6 mark.
Even treble?
It depends on the gig.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't like turning it up too much because then the sound gets a little bit too uncontrolled, and I don't get the clean sounds anymore, which for me are so important, you know.
How is the action on your guitar?
I guess they're fairly difficult to play. That's because I find if they're slightly higher, they sound better. You know, I mean, they're much easier to play if they're lower down, but I'm not interested in easy playing. I'm just interested in the end result, the final result. And I'm quite willing to compromise on the playability, you know, and I've always done that. I mean, my strats were incredibly hard to play, as other people always told me, but
because
I lived with it. You know, I'm a sound. I mean, sound for me is very important. And if I have to work a little bit extra hard, so what?
Do you use heavier strings?
I use, I guess, fairly heavy strings. They're not really heavy, but I use, for instance, a 50 E string at the bottom.
What about a high E?
The high E is 09.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't affect the vibrato bar, though, huh?
What do you mean?
Do you have an extra spring in the back because of the 50?
No. I've got 3.
3?
3.
Huh. Do you work on your own guitars?
No, you mean actually working?
Yeah.
No. I haven't got that gift.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do the most basic functions, you know. Nothing else. I'm quite useless when it comes to mechanical things.
Do you always use standard tuning?
Most of the time. I sometimes tune the E string to D, like in a Layson, or to E flat. But that's about it.
How do you hold the pick?
2 fingers, usually, sometimes 3 fingers. It depends. If I want a crisper rhythm sound, I use 3 fingers in the right hand.
Yeah.
Because it gives you a more machine-like sound. Cleaner, but not so lyrical. For lead, I usually always use 2 fingers in the right hand because I find the sound slightly mellower and rounder. If I use 3 fingers in the right hand, the sound gets more distinct, but also less round.
Do you follow any? Do you consciously follow any picking patterns? Upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke.
I can do any picking pattern I want, and I do it. For me, it's the sound that matters, or the phrasing, you know.
Yeah.
But I can do any type of picking pattern that I could possibly imagine. I can play. Usually, I play with a free hand, the right hand. But I also can play the machine type of technique, where like very fast, for very fast runs. You know, where I would play from the wrist or so. I don't use that very often because I don't like the sound I get there.
Does your vibrato come more from your wrist or your fingers?
It comes from both. It depends what finger you're using, and it depends what type you're doing. You know, it depends on the speed, whatever.
Do you anchor any part of your right hand when you play?
Sometimes I anchor the little finger on the board or underneath the strings.
Uh-huh.
But that's about it. And if I play like this machine type technique, as I call it.
Does that mean fast or what?
Well, yeah, like that I would play from the wrist, and I would have the wrist on at the back, but slightly hovering. Usually, always slightly hovering. Just a second, please. Who is it? When is the gig? Oh, sorry, I have to stop because I've got to play in 20 minutes.
Okay, well, can we
have to do quite some traveling.
Would it be possible to finish up sometime tomorrow, maybe?
Definitely.
How can I reach you?
You could reach me at, say, 11 tomorrow morning.
At your time or mine?
My time? What time's that? Oh, yeah, I see.
That's like 5 o'clock, 4 in the morning, my time.
That's no good. What time would be convenient to you?
This time or 3 hours earlier or something like that? That's about 8.
Give me your telephone number.
Do I have one?
You give me yours.
Okay, sure. That's in California.
California.
We'll probably need about 20 minutes to half an hour to finish up, Uli.
Okay, great.
Thanks so much.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
We've been wanting this interview for so long.
Novotel Orléans, bonsoir.
Room 255, please.
Can you repeat, please?
Room 255. 1255.
1255.
Yes.
Hello?
Hello, Uli.
Yes.
This is Jazz.
How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Fine.
This a good time to finish up?
Yeah.
Would you prefer that your name be Uli or Ulrich?
Uli.
Okay.
Uli John Roth.
Okay, good. Let's see, where did we leave off? When you left the Scorpions, was that on good terms?
Totally good terms. Yeah, I mean, we had a great time together, and Francis and I had been friends with each other for a long, long time beforehand, you know. And everybody in the band understood that they understood and accepted my wish to leave.
Uh-huh.
So we had no hard feelings, you know. And the only problem I had was with their producer, who didn't want to let me go, you know, Tita Dirks.
Yeah.
So that was my problem.
You mentioned yesterday that you didn't consider yourself to be a heavy metal player.
Yeah.
I think. Are you familiar with a magazine called Kerrang?
Of course.
I understand they voted Virgin Killer as the all-time greatest heavy metal album.
What? Yeah?
Yeah, that's what someone told me.
I'm not aware of that. Maybe. I don't know.
And you're often cited as being one of like the fathers of the style.
I don't know.
What do you perceive as being heavy metal?
I guess what Scorpions are doing these days, that's heavy metal for me.
What was the concept behind Electric Sun?
Musically?
Yeah.
Well, the main idea is to come up with a new musical concept with a new direction in music, a new sound, a new way of thinking. And that's what I'm interested in, and that's what I want to explore, you know, to create a unity between music, words, lyrics, and a certain kind of message behind it.
Now, your lyrics on the new album seem to be very spiritual.
Yeah, they always are. They always have been. It only has been becoming more apparent more recently, but on the first two Electric Sun albums, it was just the same, you know.
Earthquake and Firewind?
Yeah. My concept has been growing clearer and clearer, and that's basically, at the moment, maybe it appears to be a bit more in the forefront. It's the same like with the classical influence, you know. It was always there, but now it just is more apparent, you know.
Are you a Catholic?
No, I don't belong to any kind of church.
I noticed.
But I try to be a Christian.
I noticed that your lyrics are. Being an old altar boy myself, I recognize many of the lyrics, especially the Latin ones.
Yeah, I mean the Agnus Dei.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Well, I think that Latin is a very powerful language, and for this kind of song, I figured I needed something very special.
Yeah.
And very that would surpass a certain time frame, but would be on a more timeless plane. And I felt that Latin was the right kind of language to use for that.
Very interesting. Did you ever study it in school?
Well, I had about 8 years of Latin in school. Yeah.
What kind of school was that?
Well, the normal, I don't know how you call it, how you would call the equivalent in America, sort of a grammar school, you know, a high school type, the one you'd go to before you go to university. You know what I mean? You know?
So
you
until
learn
you were like,
various languages and all the subjects, you know.
Did you ever go to a university?
No. Luckily not.
Luckily?
Yes. Just joking.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit anti not universities as such. I think they're a great idea, but I think people are not learning necessarily the right things these days. I think lots of studies are far too much on the superficial side or on in a remote kind of sphere, and very rarely the people are actually studying for real life situations, you know?
Yeah.
It applies, I think, to science and to everything you come in contact with. Whenever I encounter students and I talk with them, I always feel a certain kind of, or very often I feel a certain kind of being detached in what I think is an unhealthy way. You know, I think universities should be a little bit more realistic and should train people to also understand to put their particular subject into relation to a mental relation to a whole, to our society as a whole, if you know what I mean, you know. People do study and they study one subject, and then very often they don't really know how to class the subject in the entire scheme of things, you know, which is about possibly the most important thing, to actually know what you're doing, you know, and what for. And very often I get the idea that people are just drifting along and not really, they don't really know what they want. They're not being taught how to develop this kind of thinking for themselves, you know.
Do you feel that your music serves a purpose beyond entertainment?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not doing entertainment at all. I'm not interested even in entertaining. I think, for me, music that entertains is too boring. I'm not really interested in that side. Although there's a huge market for that, but that doesn't interest me.
What does interest you?
Well, I think music is something very special, and so I only try and use it in a special way. And I put music in relation to what I see, what I've learned on the philosophical level, and I try and put it into relation to the laws of creation as I see them, or as I managed to see them so far, and I just try to find new things in music, detect new things in music, you know, things that are there, but then have to be sought for and to be brought out into the open. So I'm trying to look at it from a very, very different angle. When we come back to all this meaningfulness, you know, I mean, I'm not the kind of guy who listens to music that just drifts along or so. For instance, I hate listening to music as a background type of thing, you know. I always get so involved in listening that I either listen or I don't. Can't do both things at the same time, you know.
Is classical music your favorite to listen to?
It definitely is the kind of music that I would resort to if I have a choice of what I would listen to, yes.
Do you have favorite composers?
Yes.
Who?
Yes. My favorite composer is Frédéric Chopin and Beethoven, of course. And then many of the classical composers, like Mozart and Handel, Baroque composers as well, you know.
Are you? Do you stay aware of what other guitarists are doing?
Not so much, I must admit, because because most of my teaching, I mean, most of the things that I learned after my after 1975, say, yes, came from me listening to either classical music or actually finding my own ways, you know.
Yeah.
So without wanting to sound derogatory, I must say that when I do listen to guitar players these days, I find very rarely I find people who think on the wavelengths that I can relate to. You know, very often I hear very good players, but the kind of thing that I'm looking in music for, I rarely get. You know?
Are you familiar with Yngwie Malmsteen?
Yes, he rang me up one day about 2 years ago, and he paid me a lot of compliments, and he was quite nice to talk to. I understand he is very influenced by myself.
Yes.
Which is
Your playing has much in common. His favorite musicians are Paganini and Bach.
Yeah.
And it really shows in his music.
Yeah. Well, I'm not exactly a Paganini fan. For me, he was more flash virtuoso, and I don't find much depth in his music, although some of his violin concertos have nice moments, but I'm definitely not a Paganini admirer.
Do you keep up with what the Scorpions or Michael Schenker have been doing?
I haven't heard Michael Schenker for a long time. I did hear the new Scorpions album, Love with Sting, and I think of the 3 albums since Love Drive, I think it's by far the best, and particularly Klaus' singing is very improved. You know, I'm not too keen, I must admit, on Messiah's.
Me too.
But, I mean, I guess that's a matter of taste.
Now, do you perceive a difference between European and American players?
Well, I guess so. On guitar, you mean, yeah?
Yeah.
Guitar players. Perhaps in general, the Europeans are slightly more inclined to melody and harmony, whereas the Americans, I can't even say. Actually, you know?
Yeah.
Because on both sides of the Atlantic, there's very good players, you know?
Does it bother you?
And I must say, I'm really not a specialist, you know, because I do listen very rarely, and as I say, it's not kind of a sphere that really interests me too much, which may sound weird, you know, but I stopped being interested in guitar and what guitar players are doing around 1975, I must say, you know.
Huh.
I mean, there were always people who I liked, but I'm not so much hooked on the guitar as such, you know. I use it as an instrument, and that's about it.
Do you
I just happen to feel totally at home in it, and I do try to do new music with it, but I'm not really a guitar freak.
Do you feel there's too much competition among players? Too much comparison?
Comparison, yeah. I mean, people like to compare all the time, you know. I guess that's a natural human kind of thing, you know, because people have to have standards of measurement, you know. I mean, I don't usually do that sort of thing, you know. I don't compare. I mean, I would say I prefer this player to that player, you know, because of this and this and this, but it's not an interesting kind of thing for me, you know. I mean, I can tell you instantly who I prefer to who, you know, if I listen to somebody. But it's not a thing that really interests me, you know. I'm much more inclined to listening to music as a whole, and I see the guitar as one instrument of many, you know. And I don't even listen so much to single instruments as such. I just try and appreciate the whole. And for me, a guitar or a nice guitar solo on a song that I don't like, as half the value. It means I will not listen to it. So that's my kind of thinking. But I remember when I was a kid, I was quite hooked on the guitar, and I used to check out other players, and it was a different world. I really changed after I was 20 or so. I really changed.
Now, after you did Earthquake and Firewind, you had some sort of legal problem that precluded you from recording or something?
No. I didn't have legal problems that precluded me from recording. It was like this. When I left Scorpions, Dieter Dirks, his lawyer said I was still under contract to Dirks. Now, my lawyer said I wasn't. I had legally terminated my contract. So what Dirks did, he stopped my royalties from that time onwards. And I had to set up 2 court cases against him, which took me about 6 years in 2 different countries, and in order to get my money. And I was able to produce these 2 albums, Firewind and Earthquake, but after that, I just ran out of money, you know, and I couldn't find enough financial support to produce a 3rd album. So what I did was this: I closed down shop in 1981, and I moved to England, and I started there with a management, and at the same time I was hoping to resolve this problem with the money, so I would get my money back. And I mean, I still haven't got the money, but a settlement is very, very near now. So meanwhile, I found a management, and I signed a worldwide contract with EMI, and this is where things started to pick up again. So I was then able to record again.
Now, you've never toured America with a band?
I never toured America.
When are you coming?
We're coming in May.
May through when?
May to July.
That's great. The story will be out right about the time you get here.
Great. I mean, they're booking it right now, ATI is on the case right now, and I don't know any details yet. I only know so far that in New York we'll be playing the Beacon Theater.
Yeah.
And we headline in New York and LA, and we'll probably play package tours in areas where we're not particularly well known,
Yeah.
It'll be a mixed bag, but I mean, this will be published quite soon, I guess. And in July we're playing a few dates in Japan.
Great.
And, we're playing summer festivals in Europe, and then it's time for a new album.
Are you going to do any videos?
Yeah, we've done a video already.
Oh, great.
And I hope they show it on MTV actually, because it turned out quite nice for the first song, The Night the Master Comes.
Great.
And on that one, I was really trying to do the same, like with the music, to come up with a totally new concept, to actually do a video that's perfectly in tune with the music, And I think to a certain degree that worked. I mean, it's not perfect because we only had a few days, but I think it's quite outstanding, actually.
I needed to ask, at the very beginning of the album, there's like explosion sounds?
Yeah.
How did
the thunderclaps?
Oh, they're actual thunderclaps?
I guess you mean the thunderclaps.
Yeah.
Because it starts with thunder, yeah? And then in the music, there's a few,
yeah,
that type of thing. Well, that's supposed to be thunderclaps, yeah.
Is that done on guitar?
No, I did that with a Fairlight.
That's a keyboard synthesizer?
The Fairlight, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's one of the most famous. It's this big sampling machine,
Did you play, what instruments did you play on the album, besides guitars?
I played, the DX7 and the Fairlight and grand piano.
Did you play bass?
I played bass on about half the album.
Now, was most of the guitar done with the Sky guitar?
No, half and half. I used a collection of Strat and Sky. It was done with about 4 guitars. I used the 12-string quite frequently.
Is that acoustic or electric?
Acoustic.
What kind?
Bryn Hiscox.
I'm sorry?
Bryn Hiscox.
Could you spell that for me?
A well-known English guitar maker.
Uh-huh.
And,
how do you spell his name?
His name is B-R-Y-N-N.
Uh-huh.
And then Hiscox.
C-O-X?
C-O-X, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Weird name.
It's a strange
And
name.
I think on a couple of tracks I used some Ovation. And the rest was done with Strat and Sky.
Now, are you a guitar collector?
No.
What kind of Strats do you use?
I've got, on that record I was using 2 Strats.
Are they old?
One is the white one that I used from in Trance onwards.
What was that a stock Fender Strat?
Yeah, it's a 75 Fender.
Have you modified it?
Only very, very little, you know. There's different kind of frets inside, and I guess that's about it.
Bigger frets?
Yeah, large. And then I used a 70 Fender, or a 71 that is, for some of my clean rhythm sounds, and also these balalaika sounds, and so that was that Fender. And the Sky guitar I was not using so much at that time because I only had it for a short while then, but I was using it on quite a few of the higher parts.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you could give an example where somebody could hear the extra frets.
Well, there's this song called I'll Be There, this long guitar solo, and there is a few very, very high notes at the end, you know. And basically each guitar solo or in most of them I went to at least the top G or so, you know.
What's the highest note you can get on the Sky before you hit the violin part?
On the, that's a B. A B or a C, it depends on how high I pull it.
I see.
Before the violin, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the solo in Return that you did?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
okay.
It was improvised. You
have a very interesting tone. It's kind of sustainy and crying.
Yeah, it was. I can tell you what that was.
Yeah, what's that? That's a beautiful
I was
sound.
just toying around there. It was something I'd never used before. It's a gizmo. And I found it lying around, you know, at home, and I never used it before because I always thought it was too distorted. So in studio, I was thinking what I could do with that solo, and I was just using this thing, and so I played it all in one go, you know, with the gizmo and the left hand. I just played the left hand without attacking, and then from a certain point onwards, I think I put down the gizmo and I played the rest.
Now, what's a gizmo?
It's something like an EBow.
A gizmotron?
I don't know. I mean, that's the only thing I know it about. It's a device that was built in the 70s. You hold it close to the strings and the string ring.
They have
the ring for a long time.
It's a magnet?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I know what that is then.
And I don't even know whether it's an Evo or a gizmo now. You caught me now, you know.
Now, how does this music transfer to your stage show?
Well, the songs of the new album, we play them fairly the same as on record.
Well, like
whereas older material that was written for 3-piece or so are very different now because we're a 7 or a 9-piece on stage sometimes, you know.
The band lineup changes?
Yeah, we're always 7, but sometimes we're 8 or 9.
Do you have a second guitarist?
We sometimes have. He plays a very clean kind of rhythm sound to to fill out the acoustic parts,
So that's what I wondered, like how you do the night the master comes or something. You'd have another guitarist playing the rhythm?
Yeah, no, I do both at the same time.
Oh, I see.
We used to do the night the master comes as a 7-piece. That means 2 keyboards, 2 singers, and bass, drums, and guitar. And it sounded quite full because we're using the CP80 piano in very much the similar way as you would use a rhythm guitar. So the guy is basically copying the guitar to a certain degree. But at the moment, we're playing with the second guitar player for a few numbers, and we're still experimenting, And he then plays these clean chords underneath.
Is he going to come to America with you?
I don't know yet, I guess.
Okay. Have you been exploring any new guitar techniques lately?
I think I'm exploring new techniques all the time, but I don't do it that consciously,
Yeah.
I always, when I'm working on music, I don't think so much in terms of technique, I just, I can explain everything I do if you want me to, but I just don't think so much in these terms. I think in terms of melody and harmony and rhythm. And so there's a million little things you're doing every night, and these are the components that make the sound and the playing,
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different ways of picking and so many different sounds you're getting. And even from night to night, it's so different.
Yeah.
This is where the sensitivity thing comes through again. Because I do play quite different on different nights, If you have a hall that sounds slightly different, then you may find yourself playing slightly different, Or on certain nights, you're in a different kind of mood, and you would play totally different,
Now, when you're going to do a vibrato with your finger,
yeah,
do you do it more up and down or more parallel?
I see. You mean like a violin vibrato?
Right.
Yeah, I use that very rarely. I use that on a classical guitar, and although I don't play classical guitar anymore these days, very rarely. And I use it on if I play clean melodies and a certain chords for a certain type of very subtle control. But usually I use an up and down vibrato.
Do you often use the little finger of your left hand?
Oh yeah, all the time.
When you bend, if you're going to bend a note upwards, which finger will you use to bend?
Each finger has a different sound, and I always use the finger that suits the phrase.
Oh, I see.
I always put my fingers in phrases. I always think about phrasing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the phrasing. Let's put it like that, because I don't think so much about it. But sometimes you write a certain piece of music, and it sounds kind of not kind of clumsy or so, And then you just have to alter your finger setting slightly,
Yeah.
pattern, and that usually cures the problem. Very often, it's the most logical thing also sounds the best,
No,
Phrasing is so important. The actual how do you say in English? The fingering, yeah.
Yeah.
Fingering. The fingering is so important for the phrasing and the expression. I
Yeah.
never go for the easy way out. Sometimes I do ridiculously difficult things in the left hand just in order to get a certain sound or so, which you wouldn't necessarily suss when you hear it,
And you're climbing up the neck. Will you change pickup selectors?
Most of the time when I play a lead on the top strings, I would use the top pickup. That's the one at the bridge, yeah.
Right.
But if I play warmer kind of sounds, I prefer using the bass pickup, the first pickup as I call it, the one to the neck.
Now, and when you're recording, will you splice solos together or do several takes and pick your favorite one, or how does that
I
work?
do what?
When you're
Yeah.
recording an album and it's time to solo,
Yeah.
will you like splice different pieces of solos together to make one solo, or do you do it all at once?
No, I never do that. I always go for a logical build from the start.
So
I always try to build. Even when I improvise, I always try and imagine the entire solo from the beginning to the end, and build something like an edifice, a building. Something that's in harmony with itself, with peaks and a certain amount of tension and relaxation. For me, one of the most important things in music is the permanent counterplay of tension and relaxation, forces. It's all about balancing these forces. That goes for the rhythmical forces, that goes for the forces of harmony, that goes for the forces of melody.
Mm-hmm.
It's all balancing these forces. And I'm very conscious of doing that while I'm playing.
Now, what if you like make a mistake during the solo, or what I'm trying to? Then you'll start all over from scratch.
No, I mean I would drop in.
That's what I'm asking you.
Oh yeah. No, I mean certain solos, like Hiroshima or so. Do you know that one?
That's off of Earthquake?
No, of Firewind.
Firewind, yeah.
So, a certain solo I would improvise in one go. Or for instance the one on Return. As you were saying. Other solos, I would whenever I do a mistake, I just wipe it, and I drop in on it.
No, yes.
Because I always, when I record, it's like, for me, it's like painting, right? Brush strokes. And if a painter does a wrong brush strokes, he wipes it off or puts a new one on top. That's the same as I see recording, It's a totally different medium to live. Live, you have one go, and you better get it right the first time round, And that's why it's never perfect live,
Yeah, you got that right.
I like the perfect world, or the inverted commas perfect world the studio can give me, because I'm not interested in showing off how well I could do it the first time. I'm just interested in bringing across an idea, and painting that idea, no matter how long it takes, I mean, I'm very, very fast in studio, I only take lots of time to find the right sound. And sometimes I take very long with solos because I want to get every little inflection dead right within the song,
What advice would you give young players as far as breaking out of stock soloing patterns?
Yeah. First of all, try and find your own personality and develop your own individual kind of way of looking at music. Find find yourself first. I mean, try to check out who you are and what your personal type of wavelength is, and then transmit this type of thing onto your music. This is the first way of not sounding like everybody else, And so try and be individual. Try and be yourself. There's nothing wrong with listening to other people and learning from them, because that's totally natural. Nobody learns everything by himself. I mean, if you take an early Beethoven piece, it may sound just like some type of Mozart. I mean, this is all perfectly normal. People have to develop, and we're all learning from the past, and we're all building on what other people have done before us. But I think in order not to get into this soloing rut, you have to first find your own kind of style, not in a very unnatural, not in a cramped manner, like really getting frustrated about it, but let it come out of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Let it grow into try and be in harmony with your own kind of outlook on music. And then, of course, as soon as you start soloing, never let your fingers command your spirit. It must always be the thing that you're hearing inside first, and then you put that onto the guitar, and not the other way around. Don't even try to think of scales while you're doing it, because it's the same as if I'm talking to you and I start suddenly thinking about the alphabet. It's just this is very, very immature, and the sooner people get rid of it, the better. Don't think in licks. Never think in licks or patterns. This is absolutely fatal.
Mm-hmm.
From a very early stage on, I forgot about thinking in licks. I mean, I think from 1972 on or so, or 71, I don't even remember. But
Mm-hmm.
this is something I found at a very early stage, not to think in licks and patterns, but to always think in musical terms, And I think that's quite a surefire way of not sounding like everybody else and of actually producing sense, musical sense. And please try and avoid all kinds of emptiness and just trying to be flash and impress people, because it's so boring and it's so pointless.
Yeah.
There's a million people who do it, and it's also very, very immature musically. Try to grow up musically very soon. Try to become a musician and not just a guitar player. The best guitar players are people who are actually musicians. And I'm sure you'll agree with that.
No doubt about it.
So this is my advice for for the young kind of players.
When are you?
Oh yeah, and one more.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how often or how long you practice, but whenever you practice, you have to practice with your entire concentration switched on, and the same must go for your playing. Don't practice in front of the TV or just fiddling about, doodling about, because this will only do harm to your music. Again, the comparison to speech, it's the same as if you're sitting somewhere in the bathroom and you're babbling nonsense just in order to get a more skillful tongue. I mean, it's very much the same. Music is very much like a medium like speech, only on a much broader level, a much deeper level.
When are you your happiest?
I guess in studio, or when I'm songwriting, or when I'm in nature, when I'm meditating, when I'm with friends, I'm just like everybody else,
Are you involved with any of the arts outside of music? Do you paint or do anything like that?
I'm very involved in writing. I've written a lot. And I know a lot about painting, but I don't paint myself. I do drawings and stuff,
When
I
all
do that to Monica. Because she's so incredibly good at it.
when all said and done, how would you like to be remembered?
I don't know. I don't really think about that.
You don't want to write your own epitaph.
I mean, I just want to be able to say to myself that I've done my best.
Yep.
And that's an attitude. That's the kind of attitude I go through life with. Not just in terms of music, but I think you always have to give something of yourself, and whatever you're involved in, really give 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hold back or think you're too precious to do certain things. So I apply this kind of philosophy to, I guess, almost everything I get in contact with. I just take things serious.
Yeah, I can tell.
I think life is serious. It's not all a holiday camp, you know.
You got
You
that?
can enjoy yourself and still get things done, you know. I very much believe in living for a purpose. I think we all have a purpose in life, and we have to find it and then actually go for it, you know. And the purpose that I see is not becoming rich and famous, but my purpose is to give something that I can give and that others can't give, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
each musician has a certain amount of or something to say, you know, and each is an individual.
Uh-huh.
And it's the same with me, you know.
Boy, that's great. This is going to be
I mean, you see, I'm just starting. Everything else, everything I've done so far was just apprenticeship.
I have the feeling this
I'm
is
just starting,
always
you
going
know.
to
I
be
mean,
the
this
case.
is my this record is my real beginning, you know. I've got so much music in my head. It's unreal. I haven't got any time to work on it though, because we're on tour, you know, and I've got to look after so many things, you know. But I can't wait to get back into the studio, you know. I've written an entire album already, and I really want to go and record it. And there's so much to explore still in music, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's quite exciting.
Is there anything else you want to cover in this interview?
No, we've covered quite a lot of ground,
This
you know?
is going to be a great story.
I also, you see, I'm really bad on telephone interviews, I must say, because I get quite disorganized. I want to see the person I'm talking to, you know?
Yeah, I really hope...
kind of spaced out, just talking and talking all the time without actually seeing the person.
I know, but...
But
too bad
whenever I see people in person, I'm much better on interviews. Yesterday I was really bad because you called me out. I was just actually meditating, you know?
Yeah.
Suddenly I have to do this interview. And I felt really spaced out in places.
But it was very good.
Today is better.
It was, out of the 2 hours of conversations, we got one great story. Uli, I hope I get a chance to meet you when you come through.
Well, I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't wait to play in America.
We can't wait to have you.
Because, I mean, since 10 years, I receive letters, when do you come, when do you come? And each time I say, well, I don't know, you know, all the American tours for Scorpions got canceled in the last moment, mysteriously, while I was with them. And then finally, when it came across, I didn't want it anymore because I wanted to come there with Electric Sun. And so it was a long time, you know.
Huh.
But I think it's going to be good.
Great.
I'm sharpening my knives at the moment. I'm actually practicing quite a lot here on this tour. And I think the Sky guitar will be quite a revelation for the Americans.
I do too.
Because I think they'll understand it.
Yeah, I think so
It goes
too.
right into the sky. Very difficult to play, though.
That shouldn't stop people.
Actually, one more thing I wanted to ask you about. You said about marketing. Could you give me advice who I should approach? What do you think? What guitar maker would you think is most suitable? Japanese?
Boy, I really couldn't tell you.
No?
I don't know. I'm sure you're going to get approached by a lot of them.
What about Ibanez? How are they?
Good. Very
They're
good. Very good.
And Yamaha? Not so good, huh?
I don't know. I hear more about Ibanez.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Ibanez would be a good one.
Yeah, maybe I'll let my manager check that out. Because everybody keeps asking me, you know, and...
Kramer, it might not be bad.
Yeah.
Ibanez sounds good.
Okay.
But
Right.
I'm sure when you go to Japan, you're going to have lots of people following you
They'll
around.
copy it right away.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
Okay.
Thank you, Uli.
Well, I thank you very much, Dan.
Okay, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Okay.
Okay?
Good
Did
luck.
you get enough pictures?
We haven't gotten any yet, but we're waiting.
You're getting them from England? We've got lots of pictures.
I'm hoping they'll get here. We'll need all this stuff within about 10 days if we can get it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Soon after this interview, Uli embarked on his first North American tour. If you're into 1980s hard rock and heavy metal, I invite you to check out my podcast with Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai, Michael Schenker, AC/DC's Angus and Malcolm Young, Yngwie Malmsteen, Warren D. Martini, and Robin Crosby of Rat, Vivian Campbell, Joe Satriani, and others. We love 80s rock here. Before signing off, I want to thank the fine folks at the University of North Carolina Southern Folklife Collection and my friend Nick Hunt, who engineers and produces my podcasts. This podcast is copyright 2025 by Giles Obrecht, all rights reserved. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you again soon.